Well, I want to say good evening. I want to extend a special good evening to all members and all arms of ACORN International there in the Europe, in the United States, in Africa, and every part of the world where ACORN organization is located. I'm David Peters, the local organizer of REITE International here in Liberia, and want to present this report on the behalf of LADEFAC, the LAC District 3 and 4 affected community here in the Grand Bassa area south of Liberia. On the behalf of the local organization, I want to extend a strong apology for not being able to produce a stereotype a video report as was expected. We want to extend our apology for that strongly, and because of time, we could not have been able to collect all our different pieces to do a formidable report style in such a video as may be presented by others. But be aware the case, we still stand strong and firm, truthful, to present to you everything that the organization has been working with since in fact we joined arms with ACORN International and strongly been backed by REITE International. Okay, again I say I'm David Peters, the local organizer of REITE International here in Liberia. Okay, we were asked to present special cases on our report format that was presented to us by Wade from ACORN, and which details a lot of numberings of membership groups, dues, villages, towns, actions taken over the period and that affected the life of the organization. We were also asked to talk on main challenges and main campaigns, the biggest priorities of for future plans. Okay, and we will want to speak to that a little bit in detail and give you all necessary figures as may be stipulated to these different items that were listed on the format to be discussed. Membership. LADEFAC has an increasing membership as from the 2015-2016 when it took root, since it had its foundation. At current, LADEFAC has a membership of 421 members. This includes 21 leaders from the different 21 villages out of the town chiefs and contact persons, and also this total number includes several interestingly growing others who are coming on board, and over the period, bit by bit has been encouraged by works of the organization and deemed it necessary to be a part of our advisory. And this total number also includes 5 co-leaders. Co-leaders, as may be defined, our negotiators or negotiating leaders who are set aside for all negotiations whenever major actions or whatever action or activities are taken, or whenever meetings are called, maybe by statements or by management of like. These 5 are the leaders, co-leaders, who will go on the behalf of the organization, as we can have the entire organization being a part of the negotiation. We will have them as co-leaders. I earlier emphasize on others. Others as part of the organizations are advisor. They serve on the advisory board of LADEFAC. To them, we take pertinent issues to some major issues to or challenges we faced with to give advice on how to go about locally so that the organization take growth. And as I said to you initially, when LADEFAC started, we have fairly around 15, 16 editors who are part of the organization, but currently we have pretty close to 22, 23 editors, and there are even more who have expressed interest in being part of the organization and to work with us in whatever the endeavors may be. All right, so those separate numbers include the total of 422 members as a part of LADEFAC. We will also talk on the group. LADEFAC is termed as a group in one, but basically an organization of local dweller of two different districts of Grand Bassa, and the areas where LAC, the construction company of Siphon and Bolowi, is located. We have District 2, District 3 coming together forming this particular organization, LADEFAC, which is the lag affected District 3 and 4 affected communities. Alright. The group of this town covers 21 active villages, towns and villages, as will be reported. 21 active town and villages included in from the two districts included in the organization. Currently, with a prospect of recruiting more other villages who also have expressed interest and have been spotted in the terrains of the two districts, who are expected to be touched on or to be affected in the future. And so based on that, they have also expressed their intention. They have also seen the need to become part of the organization. A number of those villages that I can speak of in the prospect for recruitment is about 9 villages to include to the 21 villages which have been spotted. And like I said, they have already expressed their interest in being part of LADEFAC, but need to be recruited into the membership of the organization. LADEFAC is a combination of two districts, like I reported, District 4, District 3, and District 4 of Grand Bassa County, where LAC is situated. Okay. Due payments over the period from 2015 to present, LADEFAC has been able to collect through its membership a due of $13,440 Liberian dollars over the time, and this has been reported also that the leadership had expended $10,940 from this said amount for operational matters of the organization. Usually expenditures are made for transportation, purchase of material, transportation basically in the sense of whenever meetings are had from one location to another location. Take for instance, they got to go to Buchanan. Members will have to be transported to a certain site of actions. In order that materials got to be purchased for actions, and releases will have to be will be printed out for public viewing, and also radio talk shows. They've also been it was through those means the organization were able to spend at an amount of $10,940 from said amount collected $13,440. Um, just to report on the due payment and encouragingly due members, I always encouraged. We can also be encouraged too by that. Whenever members are asked in the case of actions to be taken, in the case of projects to be carried on, they will usually send support for such, even through their due payment, through their little meager due payments of $20. Members, as I might remind you or inform you, members on a monthly basis pay $20 LD, $20 Liberian dollar for monthly due payment, each member of the organization. And we have always tried to encourage them, as that's the only source of the organization now where they can get funds from for some expanding purposes for the organization. Besides dues, there have also been some major donations to the organization from statements, superintendents, lawmakers, representatives, and senators toward the work of the organization. They have immensely contributed whenever they ask, and we want to thank them for that. Even with the organization, with the organization reading of article of cooperation, there have been some statements, especially the superintendent of the district, of one of the districts, District 3, who has supported the work immensely by making some major contribution to La DEFAC. We want to thank them for that also on the part of the organization. Alright, like I reported, L villages or towns numbering in the organization is 21. Are 21 villages in the cycling, and La DEFAC is expected to recruit an additional 9 villages that have been spotted already, who have already expressed interest in becoming a part of the organization. Actions taken. The period between 2015 to present, La DEFAC had series of actions, not just actions taken, but actions that have immensely contributed towards some of the major push or pressure on the part of the management to be able to accomplish and implement their agreements on paper to the local organization. All right. Before our travel to Cameroon, we earlier reported two major actions taken, and those reports were sent, where those actions were taken and seriously effective, which generated an demand, over 54,000 US dollars, 54,000 US dollars to 7 towns, to 7 other towns that were affected by the construction in 2007. All right, to name Marvin Star, Season, Old Zoe Camp, the current account where they have the school for local community, but has now been given to the company, and several other towns, numbering 7, that were affected One of our actions, two of our actions in 2015 taken to generated that push and pressure management to have been able to give a balance of payment of over 54,000 to the local community on bottom payment. That was the first line of demand. Basically, our actions are taken based on a certain line of demand as we go progressively until we can achieve. Then, as from 2015, 2016, uh, several other actions were taken. Three actions, as I can name, that were taken during the period up until present, and 4, 5 other actions attempted actions, but appeals were being made by lawmakers and some statement into government and within the communities who apologize, if we include management who came to the need and said, oh, there was not need for any action when in fact negotiations were already going on. And so the actions were numbered about 4 attempted and 3 actions taken for a demand for school for local kids. Like I said to you, at Nakam school, one of the local schools there was built purposely for the local community, but then over the years, management saw the need to take that school for the company instead of giving it to the local community. And as from that, they dropped uh, number of the local kids from the school. As the school became overpopulated over time, they could not accommodate some of the local kids, and as such had to drop them from school. So it was based on that the locals took to those major actions for the building of school for local kids. And that has been our major actions. That have been our major campaign against against the LAC company for the building of schools. Since 2016, we have been in a fight, and by some way of negotiation, management has been able to see reason and push to rebring the local students who were dropped from school into accommodating them in the school system with certain different several other different agreements and apologies and appeal from the side for the locals to accept, and that has been under negotiation. Currently, there are still work going on, and there are still actions expected to be taken place for the building of that school. Progress have been made, some little progress have been made, where management have been able to verbally inform. I say verbally inform because they have not able to present up until now. They have not been able to present a paper, a framework of how they are going to carry on the project. Even though the local leaders came up at one point with their own framework of what they want, came up with their own project proposal on what they actually wanted, but then management saw a huge detail expenditure in it, a huge budgetary allotment, and were able to appeal to local leaders and said they could come up with budget, but until now they have not come up with a paper written and fixed a budget plan for the framework of our project. The one count in the tour of negotiation. They also talked in one of their meetings to local leaders that they needed the assistance of the local leader in one way of producing sand and wood for them to assist in molding of blocks, molding of bricks for the building of school over the period. All right, and as on the part of the locals, they have been able to do some level of work in bringing sand and wood at the site of where they located for the building of school, and a market ground was even relocated from that spot. The spot stayed there, where a nearby place the locals have been able to hoard sand and wood for the implementation of that particular project. But they're still dragging, and management at one point cried that it is the rainy season, and they can't be able to carry on construction work during the heavy rains, where they're dealing with cement and wood that could be damaged over the period. Locals appeal, if that is the case, then tanks should be built where um, tanks should be built for workers where they can carry on the work. At any point where there is a rain, a heavy downpour of rain, locals can take up time there for shelter, and in those tanks also women of the local community can be able to prepare food for guys who are working, and that is still being dragged up until now, till it involved the the intervention of some statement. The representative proper, who was just been elected after elections held here in 2017, and the senator, uh, Representative Vincent Willie, and Senator Yombli Kaga got involved into a tripartite process of the state, the local community, and the management, and even threatened at some point to summon the management to the plenary of the House of Representatives and Senate if indeed management can implement those projects, and in time a deadline was given them for the presentation of total plans on how they go about implementing those different projects and demands of the local case. As a matter of fact, those agreements were already on paper, signed by the company, so there's no way to escape. We want to say we are blessed to have a pro-post type of government that is doing everything politically, humanly, economically possible to make sure that the voices of the the less fortunate, the voices of the the lower income people can be heard. All right, and as a matter of fact, concessions that are within those borders of those local communities are seriously being scrutinized by national government here. We want to be grateful for that, at least to have one government. And like I said, with the involvement of the two lawmakers, the senator and the representative, management agreed to come up with a plan in the period of 1 month. That was since last month. When I talked to LAC, that was since last month, and so now we have yet to see that plan brought on how to go about the implementation of the building of the school. But since in fact there are some local leaders who are in the workings and employ of LAG, who are also been talking, like individuals like Maurice Nissen, Mr. Maurice Nissen. He's a small business owner, small farm owner here with LAG, who's a major contractor of the LAG and also lives in the local community. He has also been talking on the behalf of the local community, and has a reason to also encourage the local dwellers to remain steadfast as the project as were pronounced uh, as on plan for endorsement by the management. will definitely be implemented. And so, on the basis of that, from that backdrop, we say there are more expected actions that will be taken in line with REACT International, in line with ACORN International, as we will have their international support. All right, major challenges. There are a series of challenges, but to name those main challenges we have, as we reported, uh, LADEFAC has now been able to, as an organization, purchase for themselves a vehicle to transport gas mostly from longer distances, villages, and in longer distances like areas like the Troding area, places like the Blue Bone area, some towns like the David Swarton area. They are long distances from the headquarters where we usually, from the headquarters of LIFE, where we usually hold most of our actions, and that has been one major challenges. But we have been trying to work with that through the due payments, like I reported to you, through our due payments, and we are still working on that. And if any assistance can be given in that direction, we also work in that to solicit some donations or some help for that. Another challenge is that we faced over the time, but at least is getting a bit alleviated, is this business of repression, this business of repression on the core leaders doing most of their meetings. Usually, in times when those meetings are called, the guys go for meeting, and then the management will always like be in the business of pressing down on them. There's not much time, we are busy and stuff and that, so they would not have a necessary time to discuss in detail and come up with an agreement in due to what the meeting was called for. And this was one thing we faced a serious problem with, and was able to address that to the lawmakers who have been able to intervene. And we have also made that public on We FM, on a radio station, and pronounced that, and that was a major issue. And like usually, actions are taken on that. Actions are planned to take on that for repression, and then in negotiation that can also be pronounced after those actions whenever they are planned. Okay, campaign. Our campaign remains has been from our last conference in Cameroon. The major fight against siphoning and borrowing, concessions agreement effect on the nations, or on the communities where they are located, where they are situated. All right, that is our major fight remains against. Not just the company, not just the managers of the local companies, but the fight is against siphon and borrowing transactions entirely. The entire investment and the effect that they have been having on the people, on the local people where the constructions company are situated. That has been our major fight, and in line with that, there are several demands that have been put forth from the different agreements we have here on paper with the organization. I will just briefly inform you also on the biggest priority. Our biggest priority right now is to improve more, is to work more and improving and giving life to the organization, incorporating and accommodating more and more local villages that are affected or expected to be affected by the construction here in life. In the wake of that, we have also been able to recently, just in last month, get the involvement of XRC. XRC is another company in the Magibi area, not in Grand Bassa County, but in Magibi area, where this is rubber plantation is located, and the constructions are mostly rubber plantations, and then here in Liberia, those constructions, the companies are mostly rubber plantation, rubber cultivations taken on. SRC is the satellite rubber company there in the Magibi area in the central Liberia, area, where we also have been able to launch or full membership of an organization there, which will be working alongside with LADEFAC in the same vein, and also gonna be incorporated into the workings of REACT and ACORN, as our plans are, as our plans are, which have been as our plans are to incorporate them into the working of REACT and ACORN. Recently, we were able to get 61 members. From recruited into the local organization there, and this has not been. It has not come up with a structural leadership yet. That is pending, and we're working on that. As in the case of LADEFAC, where they have national coordinator, assistant national coordinator, secretary general. SRC is not in the structure of that yet. That is still on the road. They've got to go elect through elections or hold an interim leadership before all of that can be worked out. But then this is encouraging, and they are all interested in the work of an organizations, as in the case of LADEFAC. Let me also inform you that this SRC organization is going to be directly under LADEFAC. It's going to be engulfed into LADEFAC. Might not have the same your nomenclature as LADEFAC, but as the inclusion, or as with their inclusion over time, we will term a nomenclature that will be best suited for the both plantations and local communities. And like I said, we just recruited 61 members on the side of SRC, and expected to carry on more work, more actions that you might be seeing coming up in the shortest possible time. All of that is coming from Liberia. So that is our biggest variety now. To get more force, our biggest variety is to get more force, more support into the organization, encourage members to carry on their continual due payment, and set forth our demands as we will be concrete about in discussions in our various negotiation term meetings. The fight is still on, and I want to inform you that strongly locals are being encouraged to form part of the organization, and I must also inform you that they are working seriously to making sure that this thing work, and that those demands that the structural line of enlisting can come to a full implementation. So here where we stand, as I inform you, we stay ahead on the demand for local school in the LAC area. Have not come up with anything yet, any such demands for actions with the SRC local community organization. But LAC still stands, LADEFAC still stands with the struggle for school for local kids, as I started since the 2016. and the further stay on. Once again, I'm David Peters reporting from Liberia, the local organizer here of React International in Liberia. Thanks again. Thanks. Wish you all a blast for a conference or seminar as will be conducted by ACORN International, and I'd extend a strong, heartfelt salutation to every one of you. We are working along with you. We work continuously as long as we keep connected, as long as we keep together on our side. Whenever it's feasible to have such a report, when we are asked or called on to do such, we will make sure to do whatever we can to inform you about what's happening here in Liberia. So thanks once again. Thanks once again. Have a good bye.